Hello and thank you for streaming with us and welcome to In-Depth Look. I'm Alan Wood. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe so we can bring you more videos. All right, let's get right into our top look. We're going to go to Iran, where hackers have been trying to interfere with the Trump campaign, U.S. officials say. There has been an indictment issued. We're going to tell you a little bit more about that, and then we'll take you deeper into the Middle East, where Hezbollah and Israel is still battling. They've been battling for years, as we all know, but this week there has been some heavy battling going on, and there has been a significant casualty in that situation. We're going to get to that and tell you a little bit more about that shortly. But then we're going to go to Arizona and we're going to take a look at VP. That's right, Vice President Kamala Harris is visiting the border there in Arizona for the first time. She's on the ground, boots on the ground. She's going to take a look at things, and then we're going to hear from some citizens. We're taking an in-depth look at some citizens there to find out what they're feeling about that situation there on the ground. And last but not least, we're going to take you to a federal hearing in which leader of the gangster disciples, Larry Hoover, is still fighting for his life after decades. He's up for release, and he's going to try to campaign to get his early release. It's an uphill battle for the gentleman who's already been in there for decades right now. We're going to get to that and more right here, right now on In-Depth Look. The Justice Department charging 3 men it calls Iranian government hackers with a plot to stoke discord and erode confidence ahead of the U.S. election. The 37-page indictment describing a wide-ranging hacking campaign, alleging the men targeted Trump campaign officials with email stealing and taking internal documents and shopping them to news media outlets as well as the Biden-Harris campaign.
The defendants' own words make clear that they were attempting to undermine former President Trump's campaign in advance of the 2024 U.S. presidential election.
The alleged hackers are facing terrorism, fraud, and identity theft charges. They work for Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps, according to the indictment. All three live in Iran, likely outside reach of U.S. law enforcement. The Iranian government has denied involvement. U.S. officials are battling propaganda and disinformation efforts, not just out of Iran, but also Russia and China. Microsoft saying this staged video of men beating up a woman in a Trump shirt was cooked up by a Russian troll farm trying to discredit Kamala Harris.
There's no question that our adversaries, Iran and Russia, China, they view our election as a moment of vulnerability for us. And that's only going to increase as election day approaches.
This marks a major turning point in an ongoing conflict, which has seen Hezbollah and Israel engaging in cross-border attacks for nearly a year now. Hezbollah began firing into northern Israel on October 8th in solidarity with Hamas. However, in the last 2 weeks, Israel has stepped up attacks on Hezbollah, killing several of the group's longtime military and political leaders. Then recently, the massive airstrike over Beirut that killed Nasrallah and Hezbollah's top military decision-making body. Nasrallah led the organization for 32 years. He founded the group after Israel's invasion of Lebanon in 1982 to fight Israeli forces with the support of Iran. He built Hezbollah into a domestic political force and one of the most armed non-state forces in the world. Over the years, Hezbollah has helped to train Hamas fighters as well as militias in Iraq and in Yemen. After his death was confirmed, President Biden released a statement that read in part, quote, Hassan Nasrallah and the terrorist group he led, Hezbollah, were responsible for killing hundreds of Americans over a 4-decade reign of terror. His death from an Israeli airstrike is a measure of justice for his many victims, including thousands of Americans, Israelis, and Lebanese civilians. Now, given the probability of retaliation from Hezbollah or Iran, the Pentagon is looking at options for increasing the number of troops in the Middle East. Currently, the U.S. has about 40,000. Approximately 24 hours ago, Vice President Harris landing in Arizona for her first trip to the southern border in 3 years. Also facing new criticism from former President Trump as the Immigration and Custom Enforcement Director sent a letter to lawmakers revealing more than 13,000 migrants previously convicted of homicide and currently free inside the U.S.
And I've been saying this from the beginning of the Harris-Biden disaster. What they've done to our country with this is inexcusable.
A source familiar with the data tells NBC News many entered the country prior to the Biden administration and that ICE lacks resources to find them. All of it after Trump had earlier met with Ukrainian President Zelensky.
Great honor to have you with us. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Trump calling it a great meeting.
I also have a very good relationship, as you know, with President Putin. I think that we can work out something that's good for both sides.
Meanwhile, in rural Cochise County, Arizona, a senior campaign official says Harris will propose tighter asylum restrictions than President Biden. There has been a record of 10 million illegal border crossings since Harris and President Biden took office.
We do have a broken immigration system, and it needs to be fixed.
Still, crossings have dropped dramatically in recent months, and Harris is slamming Trump for killing a bipartisan border bill earlier this year.
Absolutely frustrating.
Harris supporter and former sheriff's deputy Danny Acosta voted for Trump in 2016, but now says he's relying on fear.
That's really sad that people are being used as pawns for political reasons.
Rancher John Ladd says the Biden-Harris administration should never have ended Trump's restrictive border policy. He took us to a border fence constructed during the Trump administration, showing where smugglers have cut it repeatedly.
And Trump had it figured out.
Through his lawyers seeking early release from multiple life sentences, a special program passed by Congress known as the First Step Act, in some cases allowing early release for certain rehabilitated prisoners. Wearing a tan long-sleeve shirt, glasses, and a gray beard, a shackled Larry Hoover in Florence, Colorado, appearing on the monitors inside a Dirksen federal courtroom. In Chicago, the 73-year-old founder of the notorious Gangster Disciple street gang testifying from the ADX Supermax prison in Colorado, stating, "I am a completely different person from the man that went to prison in 1997. I have no desire to run the Gangster Disciples or be involved in any criminal activity." But U.S. attorneys at the Office for the Northern District of Illinois vehemently opposed the early release of Hoover, arguing that he still asserts leadership when it comes to the Gangster Disciples, also known as the GDs. In the courtroom, federal prosecutor Julie Swartz arguing that Hoover's done more damage to the city of Chicago than any other defendant that has come through there before. In today's government filing, the United States of America versus Larry Hoover, aka the chairman and the king, the feds arguing, quote, "Hoover has well earned his life sentence, and he is not the type of defendant Congress intended to benefit in enacting the First Step Act. Indeed, if he were sentenced today, Hoover would receive the same mandatory life sentence." But after today's hearing, Larry Hoover's loved ones and attorneys, along with many supporters, arguing that Hoover is a changed man and can do much good if he is released.
It was good to hear his voice. It sounds like, to me, he was a bit nervous, but, you know, it's his life that he's dealing with.
He is not associated with the gang and hasn't been for many, many decades. But he probably has some insights into how we can make life better for young people so that they don't turn to gangs.
Wow, that's a lot of time. We definitely hope the best for him and his family. Hope he gets through this. And we want to thank you for joining us here at In-Depth Look. I'm Alan Wood, and please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe so we could bring you more videos. Thank you.